Very roughly speaking, there is two kinds of lines of development. So one line is what we call closed source development. So in this line, very often by commercial companies, you cannot see the source code. You cannot, as a user, be really sure that what is written there is correct. And then there is the open source line, where the code is open in the internet, you can see it, you can follow what the programmers did, and actually you can use this code to reproduce examples done by others. And that is very important.
Open source, generally in science, is, from my point of view, an extremely important movement and idea.
There is this idea that you can create something and that is not for just a single purpose, but that is going to be reused by the community after you. So instead of one company creating one thing and keeping it a secret, it goes to something that is useful for the whole community.
If the research is very open, everybody can have a look at what's going on everywhere, and this can accelerate the results of the research.
It brings together many different people contributing to the same piece of software. It allows us to bundle our resources. It stops us from repeating work in multiple places. It's really key to do science effectively.
This is one of the advantages of open source software. Logilab, a business company, and some research institutes have a common interest in some software, so it's very easy for us to collaborate and share things and build together a new functionality for these tools.
We can say that OpenLiquid is a bottom-up project, because it's the users who had the idea of developing the software, and it's not the other way around. It's not someone who had the idea of a software that they wanted to sell to end users.
So one could think that open source software only matters in research, but that's actually not true. There are whole operating systems such as Linux that use open source software. There are web browsers such as Firefox, which are open source. The Apple operating system is based on open source. We see open source software anywhere. Important servers in the internet underpin that infrastructure through open source. It's really very widely used, and not only beneficial to researchers, also to industry.
There is this big challenge in open source, is to actually reach the people who need it the most. Because when you think of it, one of the great advantages of open source is that it's free, and it's free to use for everyone. But at the same time, it often has this technical cost to get into it. And this cost is often higher in open source software than it is in closed software. And it's a pity, and it shouldn't be. But the problem is that open source is developed by whoever has the time to do it. And this means that sometimes the path to get into it is not as easy as it is for a software that tries to sell itself to people.
We want to target as many people as possible, so of course Europe and the US are very strong on this aspect, but we also want to target South America, Africa, Asia, Oceania, to these people from these areas to take control of their research data thanks to OpenLiquid. And through the open source software, they can just upload it on their machines and run it, and then it's done, it's free.